Hey folks, welcome to Horsemanship 101 again. I want to talk about a few things to do with horse health, pain, just general care for your horse, spending some time with it. As you'll notice, taking a look at her back, this horse has got a little bit of a sway back to her. That was always a bit of a concern of mine when I first got her. And prior to riding her, I was not wanting to cause her pain, so I wanted to make sure she was actually fit to ride, so I got a little peace of mind by consulting my vet. But I take that with a grain of salt too, because even though a vet might be an expert in their field, they're still human. They're not perfect, so we still got to be concerned. Because for those of you that don't understand how the vertebrae of the spine works, is basically each vertebrae is a little piece with there's a disc in between, and if they bend so far, eventually they hit one another, and that becomes excruciatingly painful for the horse. You don't want that to happen, and when it curves so much, that's exactly what happens. Now, I didn't want to hurt her, so I wanted to get a second opinion. Now, on that subject, you got to be very conscious about whether or not a horse is actually in pain, because the horse by nature is a very stoic animal and doesn't show its pain. You have to really be paying attention. And it's kind of part of my subject matter for today is in nature, horses are designed, it's part of their survival instinct to be a stoic animal and not show pain because, well, the weak don't survive. If you show weakness, you become prey. And if a if a horse is injured, if it's in pain, and the herd decides it's time to move on, that horse doesn't have any choice but to get going anyhow, because if it gets left behind, the herd will go without it. It will get left behind, and eventually, one way or another, it's going to end up dead. So it's a survival thing. So a lot of people think, oh, my horse moves out okay, I ride it, it can't possibly be in pain. Well, just because your horse still moves out for you and lets you ride it doesn't mean it's not in pain. You really got to be paying attention, and this is where I'm going with this, is you got to watch for the more subtle signs. Sometimes the slightest change in behavior, a little bit of if they're slightly lethargic acting, if they're the eating habits change just slightly, if suddenly they want to turn right but not left anymore, it's a sign that it's causing pain. When they do it a certain direction, they're just going to not do it if they don't have to. They're not being bad, they're talking to you. And sometimes the signs are so subtle that it's hard to notice them, it's hard to find them, and that's where it's very important for you to pay attention. You got to be watching for every little thing. If they stumble just the slightest bit, and I want to take this the next step is it's a good idea to spend time with your horse. I always say that time is a wonderful thing, helps build a good relationship with your horse. It's good for the horse, it's good for it to get used to be handled. And one of the things I like to do is, even if I'm not going to ride her or anything, and something that everybody should do is, as often as possible, whether it's every day or every second day, or as often as you can get out to see your horse, is barehanded, run your hand, get your nose out of my face, little girl. Take your bare hand, run it over every square inch of the horse, and I do mean every square inch of the horse. Underneath, go right underneath, check the teats, the sheath if it's a gelding, lift the tail up, look for any blood discharge. You want to always be watching for things like blood in the urine and the feces. Run your hand over every square inch of the horse, feel for lumps, bumps, hot spots, anything out of the ordinary. You don't have to be a vet. Your job isn't to diagnose it. You don't have to be a vet to, do this. You just simply have to pay attention and look for differences. Any change, if the horse flinches when you run your hand over it in a certain spot, the chances are there's a very good injury. Heat is usually a good indication of injury or pulled muscles. Something like a tiny little scratch on the leg might not be any big deal in itself, but if left untreated, it could get infected. That infection could spread right into the rest of the body. The entire horse could go septic, and it actually could end up being fatal. The other thing is, a tiny scratch might not be any big deal, but it could be the sign of a bigger injury underneath, or they banged their leg on something, and they may actually have some injured tendons, even a chipped bone or something serious like that. Doesn't mean the horse won't still let you ride it, depending on the horse. Some are going to, tell you when there's something wrong. Perfect example of paying attention to change, and that gray out there. There was one day he was tied up here, and went to put the bridle on him, and he can be a little disrespectful sometimes, but he did just seem to be a little out of character that day, and he was exceptionally resistant to having the bridle put on. And the owner took him out and decided, well, I'm going to show him. I'm going to lunge him for a while, make him work, show him, teach him some manners, which I don't agree with doing it that way. But I thought, no, there's a reason. There's always a reason. No matter what the horse does, there's a reason for it. And as soon as they started lunging them, I was watching a little closer than they were. And sure enough, he's favoring his one back leg. And so, well, he was resisting the bridle, not because he was being bad. He was actually trying to tell the owner that he was in pain. So little things like that. The horse isn't necessarily being bad. Sometimes they talk to you in different ways. If the horse decides to rear, maybe it's because the front legs are hurting and it wants to get weight off of it. Maybe it's trying to get you off of it because it's hurting. There's a lot of things that are indicators of health in a horse that you really got to watch for. And the horse won't outright always show you when it's in pain. So please be careful. Spend time with your horse. Check it over every square inch of its body every time you see it. It doesn't hurt. It takes a little time. It doesn't take a lot of time, so it's not a big deal. And it's a great thing for you to be doing with your animal. Remember, horses are very stoic animals. They won't always show their pain, so it's up to you to manage it and make sure that they're in good health at all times. So please care about your horse and check it over and have a good day. Bye.